it's that season once again, and I had been thinking about it for a while, and I've used the bucket to pick up snow. It's a waste of my time having to grab the snow and dump it every single time, so you can see me laying out on a quick attachment plate that I had purchased down the road. I could have built one, but I decided not to. It made it a lot easier for me. And, so I marked my center line. I'm going to use my laser to show me exactly where my center is, double checking it. You can never be too cautious, especially when it comes to metal. Went ahead and there's me looking around for a marker again. Got it all lined up and leveled out. And once I decided that it was good to go, I threw my tack on there, and threw my tack on my other side. A lot of this stuff is scrap metal that I had laying around. It's pretty convenient when you do projects and you have a little bit of leftover material. It's a lot of video of me welding it out. It's a lot of welding. You can tell I got the safety slippers on. Don't mind those. It was a late night, and I was just very motivated to go do something. So here I am, safety slippers and all. At least the rest of me is pretty safe. Got everything else FR on. Went ahead and marked out my center again, and made sure that the I-beam was in the center, and got it all exactly where I wanted it. Had to make sure I could square it up enough too. Cleaned up those tacks just a little bit, so I could square it out better and make sure that everything was nice and level. You know, happy little mistakes. Just gotta learn and move forward. When it comes to fabrication, there's a rhyme and a reason, but sometimes you gotta make up your own rhyme so your reasons work out. Clean, clean. Always trying to stay clean on those welds. I'd like to have, even though it's for a personal project, I'd like for it to be pretty much high quality as I can. Now, you can see I jumped in the skid steer to go ahead and turn my quick connect off so I could take the quick connect plate off and clean it up and weld it out. And you get a little bit of the welding action. I definitely over welded this thing, especially for what I'm going to be using it for. Had to switch over to the left hand, give a little left-handed action, especially on that bottom web. I honestly forgot to bring my bucket over there the first time I started working on it, so we use the skid steer bucket as our trash bin for all of our rods. Make sure to get yourself in a good position. You know, a flat position will give you the best welds that you can. Especially with me working on the floor, I didn't want to have to be on my knees the entire time. That's why they call it stick welding. Stuck a rod there. It happens, especially on them big jobs. I realized that my amperage was a little too high at that point. I had to turn it down some. I'm actually using 332 rods and not 1/8 inch, though I ended up switching over when I got towards the end of the project. It was just what I had on hand. Had to give a little close-up of these welds for all you haters out there. Had to check and make sure it was strong enough. I knew it was strong enough ahead of time. And locked it back in. You know, I really was scratching my head thinking about how I was going to make it pivot. I had a piece of 1/2 inch steel that I was able to go and mark out. So here I am marking it out over on my table. Making sure that I have all my center lines matching and everything. Had to double check, make sure that the hole that I was going to cut out was the right size. I was going to drill them, but unfortunately I couldn't find my bigger drill at the time, so I went ahead and got the right size hole saw, marked out my center lines, and drew them out. Got all my angles, so that way the plates had rounded edges because of their pivot function. You can see me there using a hole saw as a template for my curvature, and you know, it works pretty well. It was the roundest thing that I could find that was within the size that I needed for the angles. So, and then here I am marking out my centers for my holes. Punching out my centers. Went ahead, and since I'm torching all this out, I used my center punch to mark out my lines, so that way it was a lot better for me to see, and as soon as I started torching it, it wouldn't disappear on me. There I am drilling my pilot hole. Got my centers marked and then drilling all the way through. Went ahead and grabbed that hole saw so I can, like I said, I was gonna drill it out with the hole saw, but once I started it, the drill I was using, I do like the Milwaukee M12s, but when it comes to drilling through plate that thick, they don't necessarily like it. So went ahead and used that as my mark out and grabbed the plasma cutter. That's what I was gonna do, is I was gonna go ahead and use the plasma cutter. A little bit of trash in the background, just ignore that. I've been trying to clean out this shop. It's just so satisfying using a plasma cutter. Making sure to start from my pilot holes come out, because the piercing on this specific plasma cutter isn't enough to do this plate. Just had to make sure that the pipe would fit inside, and cleaned up a couple of them because my cuts weren't as straight as I wanted them to. You can see that they all fit now. At this point, I ran to go grab a fire blanket to put over my boots, because they were my brand new boots, and I think my wife would be upset if she found out that I was cutting with my brand new boots and getting them all burnt up. Once I'd finished cutting up with the plasma cutter, I went ahead and moved over to clean up most of the dross on these plates. Got my 7-inch flap disc out. I didn't clean as good as you would think I should, but I went back towards the end of the project when everything was all tacked up in place and cleaned them off better. Mainly, this was just to take that dross off, so when I went to go tack it up and weld it into place, it would tack up nicely and not give me a bunch of pinholes. Went ahead and tacked up my top plate. I'm going to tack up my top plate, use the pipe location to determine where my bottom plate is going to be set. Got my level on it. Went ahead and put my first tack in, make sure it was level in that direction, put the opposing tack on. Got to make sure and tap it till it was all level, double check my front. final tacks went on. Went ahead and double checked, and someone came by to come talk to me for a minute there, so. But I got the bottom clamped in. Had to make sure everything was all nice and lined up, and trying to make it look as professional as possible. What I did there was I actually tacked the plate in, and then I tacked the pipe in to the plate and welded out the piece of pipe onto the plate, and then moved my brackets down because I had previously put my brackets on. That's how I was gonna make them all match up. Finished welding out the top and the bottom parts, so that way that piece of pipe was in the right location. I clamped my top bracket in for the top part for the blade that's gonna attach to some channel. Made sure everything was all lined up. Double checked it with the level. And then I cut my bottom pipe so that way it was free. It would have made it a lot harder to cut it if I had welded the bracket on, because that's what I was gonna do, was gonna get the pipe cut, then weld the bracket on it, and then do my top part, which is what I'm doing here. See, it broke free. Made sure to reline it up, tacked it in place. Put a little bit of a weld on there. Nothing too crazy, just enough to make sure that it stays where I want it to. Top bracket, I went ahead and cut it out. Cut the pipe right at the plate level. And here I went ahead and got a pin to put through it, so that way it was still lined up, so I knew that when I was done welding it out, it was ready to go. There's me making sure that the two plates are lining up with each other before I do my final tacks on the top plate. And I just had a piece of I-beam laying around, so that's what I ended up using. I had this C-channel left over from a trailer that I had fixed. Figured this would be the most rigid one that I could use. I didn't want to go too overkill. I had some I-beams that were long enough that I could have used, but that would have been a little bit too much, I think, in this particular instance. I had double check, make sure everything's level. I would say that I struggled a little bit on this. Not necessarily, just it was a little bit of a balancing act, making sure that I get everything all lined up perfectly. I should honestly move the camera too. I didn't think about that at the time. Got my first tack in place. Make sure that it was level. second tack in place. It's all working out now. Still level. Go ahead and clamp that down so the way it wasn't moving around on me. Then I tacked my bottom bracket. I had taken it off. Unfortunately, I lost that footage, but I took it off and I started to weld it all out. Welding the pipe and welding the brackets to the channel. Then here's me disengaging the quick connect function again, taking the quick connect plate off. Boy, do I love welding. Just the things that you can build. It's rather intriguing. There's my lower blade. Once again, this sheet of steel was from the same trailer that I had previously done some work on for a client. Fortunately, they were both laying next to each other and made my ideas come to fruition. Go ahead and put a little angle on it. There's no exact angle that I used. I just kind of eyeballed it and figured that that was good enough. A little more thinking. I was gonna lay out my holes exactly what I wanted to do to mount my next piece. So the hood kept falling down, so we had to take that bad boy off. Starting to drill out my holes. I'm only using 1/4-inch bolts to mount the upper plate. Figured it didn't need anything else. There was a bunch of them. I am. I chose a piece of aluminum because I had plenty from building my weld bed on my Chevy. So I went ahead and grabbed some 3/16 aluminum sheet that I had laying outside. Just enough leftovers. I had plenty of leftovers from that project, and I also tend to do a lot of aluminum here at Tree Fab Industries. It's one of our specialties, actually. So. Make sure everything's all marked out with the size that I wanted. I wanted to sort of match that cut. The cut had an angle on it because of how the bed was angled. So, but you really can't see the difference. It's only a little bit different. Tell there, I love that little saw. This thing does an amazing job for cutting aluminum, cutting any type of sheet. We took it over there. It's still a little wet. There was a little bit of snow on top of it when I did pick it up from outside. And, clamped it all up, made sure everything was all lined up. The edges were lined up. This blade is 2 inches wider on both sides compared to the skid steer tracks. I know you can't necessarily see that from this point of view, but that's what I went for. Figured it was enough. Here I am drilling the holes through the back side, which I later went ahead and put some bolts in, but we took the plate off first and moved on. Tree Fab Industries thanks you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.